Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Blue Marble Science. Brian's logic has accused me of being a fraud. What? I wonder what we should do about that. I got an idea. Let's just laugh at this idiot. Warning, severe facial and monitor damage alert is in effect. Get out those oven mitts. Push the monitors back out of punching range. And let's light a dumpster fire and have some fun. Now, the basis for this accusation of fraud that Brian's about to lay out is simply this. Brian can barely do arithmetic. He doesn't understand geometry. He has no idea what the earth he lives on actually is. Knowledge possessed by other people absolutely terrifies him, but Nathan Oakley told him he's smart. Wow, there's a resounding endorsement for you. So let's give a listen and see what Brian comes up with.
Well, how are you doing? Okay, this is going to be a video about very obvious globe fraud, globe deception. In recent days from this video being made, there was a debate between Bev Try Thinking and Blue Marble Science. Now, Blue Marble Science, his main presentation involved this here, which came from Jesse Kozlowski and Larry Scott, two claimed surveyors on the globe site who I don't know are even around anymore.
Both Larry and Jesse's professional land surveying registrations are available online in the states where they're registered for anyone that wants to verify it. Did it occur to you to try to do that, Brian?
But either way, it's claimed that they measure diverging zeniths.
So you'll know what this is all about. It's about surveyors making reciprocal zenith angle measurements. Now, reciprocal zenith angle measurements are normally done to find the relative elevations of different points. But it's a really simple process, and it also shows us something else. Here's the way it works. A theodolite is a device surveyors use that measures vertical and horizontal angles. If we take two theodolites, one there and one over there, and we aim those two theodolites at each other and measure those two angles, A and B, those are the zenith angles. And A plus B greater than 180 degrees means zeniths are diverging and the earth must be spherical. Well, obviously that has sent the flat earth community into a tailspin. So that's what all the hullabaloo is about. Brian's trying to white knight for his buddy Bev Try Thinking. Actually, both of them ought to try thinking.
Right. Now, I'm going to show here how all three of these guys, Jesse Kozlowski, Larry Scott, and Blue Marble Science, are all three of these people are frauds with evidence. Okay, so there's no ignorance involved here. This is purely fraud.
Did you mean to be an asshole, or is that normal for you?
Do you even know what fraud is, Brian? Fraud is any activity that relies on deception in order to achieve a gain. Fraud becomes a crime when it's a knowing misrepresentation of the truth or concealment of a material fact to induce another to act to his or her detriment. In other words, if we lie in order to deprive you or some organization of your money or your property, we're committing fraud. Now you tell me how we've done that.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff here on this page that would confuse people, a lot of nonsense on this page. But the only things that actually matter are here. Not 910955, but 10955. That is the giveaway.
Not 910955, 10955. 1 degree, 9 minutes, and 55 seconds. That's the giveaway, eh? Well, let's see where this goes.
Okay. Because, and on top of that, the XYZ here, coordinates on either side. See, the claim here is that there is diverging zeniths after being measured, right? But XYZ coordinates, or XY coordinates, require parallel zeniths. They can't work without parallel zeniths.
Did you really just say that? Did you actually just say that XY coordinates require parallel zeniths? You don't think you could have a sloping line in XY or XYZ coordinates? You're an idiot.
So the ECEF system that is claimed to be a sphere is only mathematical after the measurements. There is no diverging zeniths, as if there was, XY and XYZ would be an impossibility. There would be no Cartesian. Cartesian requires that all the dimensions, the dimensions of all the squares of the x and y grid, and all the cubes of the XYZ grid are all exactly equal in dimension to each other.
May I have your attention, please? Dumbass. Party of one. Your table on Mount Stupid is ready.
And that they fit up against each other and corner to corner, edge to edge, side to side, perfectly. And there is no deviation in their dimensions and no warping. Whereas if you try and have that same system with diverging zeniths, because the zenith through each square of the XY or each cube of the XYZ grid will, if they are diverging, then all the dimensions of the squares in the XY and the cubes in the XYZ will be wrong. So you can't use it. It's unusable. So the fact that they're using XYZ coordinates for both of these, as well as they have the latitude and longitude up there, but the XYZ requires parallel zeniths. So this alone is a debunk.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
But I don't want to just stop at that, because people can hand wave that away if they want, even though it's not possible in reality. But people who want to keep believing that these three people, Kozlowski, Scott, and Blue Marble, are somewhat valid, they're not. The three of them are frauds, and they knew what they were doing. Kozlowski and Scott knew what they were doing when they put this out, and Blue Marble knew what he was doing when he tried to use it in a debate. The debate was, is horizontal and level the same thing? That's the basics of the debate between him and Bev, right? And they are the same thing. But people like Blue Marble Science are trying to claim that zeniths diverge and level, all points along the level are equal with the center of a sphere, right? This is what he's trying to claim, right? It's total nonsense, but either way. But the 1.0955 here, right? This is the giveaway. I'll show you why. Because before Blue Marble presented this in the debate, now I'm going to, just so you know, I'm going to share the debate in the description of the link for the debate in the description of this video. But before Blue Marble presented this page, he presented this, right? And why did he present that, right? This is the giveaway.
All right, Brian has just won the giveaway. Joanna, tell us what Brian has won.
Well, Blue, Brian has just won a copy of How to Tell Your Ass from a Hole in the Ground, along with a 1-year subscription to Stop Being a Dipshit magazine.
See, the claim is that there's diverging zeniths, and that they measured here, that they measured off at our zeniths, right? And they ended up with more than 180, something that would be impossible with parallel zeniths. You will always get 180 with parallel zeniths, but with diverging zeniths, you can get more than 180 when you add up the accumulation. So here, look what he has. He has a distance in feet between Larry Scott, which is here, and Jesse Kozlowski, which is up here, right? So Kozlowski was on a rise, and Larry Scott, the distance between Larry Scott and the horizontal distance between Larry Scott and Kozlowski is 58,481 feet. The elevation of Kozlowski above that horizontal is 1,118 feet, right? And of course, because this hypotenuse line is a hypotenuse line, it's going to be slightly more than the adjacent. It's 58,492 feet. But that don't matter. All that matters is This horizontal, 58,481, and this elevation here above the horizontal of 1,118, right? They're all that matters. You see, what they did is they switched around how it's done in reality. That's what they did. So they tried to make it seem like Larry Scott measured some kind of a zenith angle off of his vertical, right? And the same with Kozlowski, but that's not what was done. So this here is a switcheroo. There was no 910955. There wasn't a 91.0955. There was no 88, 57, 58.2. This is what there was. Just give me a second. Just go to here, right? Here you can see, this is important before we go further. Here you can see that on the globe, right, this is their model. It's an orthographic model. There is no angular size change taken into account. That does not happen. There is no perspective effects.
I'm going to take a nap if Brian is just going to play with himself.
Drop anything that's perspective.
Yeah, I know. The old boy does seem to love the sound of his own voice, doesn't he? Let's skip forward a little bit.
It would be over a horizontal plane is 0.59257, right? But that's not important, right?
If it wasn't important, why were you blabbering about it?
What's important here is that angle between eye level and the bottom of the target, 1.16410 degrees. That's important, right? Because when it gets to this, right, when it gets to this point, Metabone can no longer use that. They can't use that anymore. What they need to do is switch to a flat earth, a flat plane, a horizontal. That's what they need to switch to. So to get the angle between the eye line, the eye level of the person that's 1,100 feet up in the air, they need to use horizontal plane to get the angle to the bottom of the target, which is 11.2 miles away, right? Now, in their maths even, the horizon here is, even within their maths, their geometric horizon is well beyond the target, as the horizon is for almost 41 miles away, well beyond the target. So the distance in miles between Kozlowski, even within their model, and Scott won't make any difference because it's not where the horizon is. So they must use a flat plane to do this part. They have no way out of it. And I'm going to show you why 1.16410 is so important in a minute. I'm going to prove how they're such frauds. Angular size, right? 58,481. That's the horizontal distance in feet between Larry Scott and Jesse Kozlowski, right? So using parallel zeniths, right? Not diverging zeniths, parallel zeniths. There is that amount of distance between the both of them, right? There is an elevation of Kozlowski of 1,118 feet above the elevation of, or let's say above the elevation of Larry Scott. Now, when we calculate what, let's just say if Larry Scott was looking at something, right, at a distance of something that was 1,118 feet high, above his feet, using his feet as the horizontal, and its distance is 58,481 feet. That would give us a 1.0953 degrees.
That is in decimal degrees. You know that, right?
Right? If we go back a second, right? 1.0955.
That is 91 degrees, 9 minutes, and 55 seconds, you knucklehead. Not 1.0953 degrees. Please reach down, grab your ears, and pull your head out of your ass.
Right? So what they're actually after doing is they're after switching things around. All that actually happened was Larry Scott, right? Now, I don't think any of this happened. It's all calculations, right? But if it was done in reality, Larry Scott would take a 1.0955 degree angular size measurement of the position of the rise above his feet of where Jesse Kozlowski is, which is 1,118 feet high, and the distance between them is 58,481, right? So that would have ended up with Larry Scott having made a 1.0955 angular size measurement.
Brian, 1.0953 degrees is 1 degree, 5 minutes, 43.08 seconds. Here, I did it in an online converter so that you can see it yourself. That is not 91 degrees, 9 minutes, and 55 seconds, which is what Jesse Kozlowski measured. Jesse was measuring not angular size, he was measuring the zenith angle from his zenith down to his sight line, which was focused on Larry's theodolite at the airport. This is a massive fail, Brian, and I probably should quit right here, but I think you did one other boneheaded thing that I want people to see.
Oops, sorry. To support this, I am going to go to the maths. So, Debunking claimed that there would be an angle between Kozlowski and Scott of 1.16410, right, degrees, right? 1.16410 minus 1.0955 is 0.0686. 90 minus 1.0955 is 889045. 90 minus 1.16410 is 888359. So if we add both of those together, we get 1777404. Sorry, 7404. So 1777404 plus 1.16410 plus 1.0955 is 180. So this is a pure back calculation from 1.0955 angular size measurement that would be taken by Larry Scott. And the angle between Kozlowski and Larry Scott would have been measured at 1.16410. That's what would have happened. In reality, that's what would have happened.
You know, Brian messed this up so badly, it's hard to know where to even start. I'm going to ignore the fact that he took Jesse's zenith angle measurement and magically converted 91 degrees, 9 minutes, and 55 seconds into 1.0955 degrees. Let's just forget about that. Let's see what he really did here. Brian took a number from Debunking, which I never used, subtracted his messed up version of Jesse's number from it, and came up with a number which he never uses again for anything. Then he took 90 degrees minus his screwed up version of Jesse's number and 90 degrees minus the Debunking number, summed those two and came up with 177.7404 degrees. Then through the magic of math, he added the same two numbers back to that and ended up with 180 degrees and somehow acts like he's discovered something. Brian, that is another massive fail. Now, there's going to be one more thing I want to say before I wrap this up, and this was included in the debate I had with Bev. In case you thought the only reciprocal zenith angle measurements ever made were made by Larry and Jesse, you are badly wrong. There are tens of thousands of those. Here's a NOAA report from 1978, and there are 7 sets of reciprocal zenith angle measurements, every one of which is substantially greater than 180 degrees when you sum the two. You know, somebody's being deceitful here. Brian, it isn't me, it's not Jesse, and it's not Larry. I think you're the one being deceitful, my friend. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget the like and subscribe buttons. There's a link to the Patreon and PayPal. It'll be in the description too. If you want to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next one.